welcome all, welcome. We'll wait for some people to join before we actually kick it off. But today we're going to be talking about the New South Wales state budget. I have you here rested in front of my computer, so I've got the state budget overview in front of me. I've consulted my team on some of the things that were outstanding to them. And what I want to do is share it all with you because I see some tremendous opportunities for investors, for homeowners. Bear in mind, for all of you out there, I primarily like to focus on investing, making money through property. So that's the parts of the budget that I'm going to be focusing on the most. It's now 12:01, so I'll kick it off for all of you people that are punctual. Now, whilst I'm talking, it is a collaborative thing, so I encourage you to also ask questions and I'll do my best to answer them. But let's start from the top and talk about this budget. Now, the big thing for property buyers are, some of the opportunities that the New South Wales government is proposing to allow people to get in. This is getting in with a limited deposit. Let's start from the top. I'll just pull it up, team. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I've just bought 20 grand in Bitcoin. Congratulations to you, Murray. Okay, got all my notes ready. Okay, so the big things that came out of the budget. One is the shared equity scheme for New South Wales. That shared equity scheme is up to 6,000 eligible single parents, older singles, first home buyers who are teachers, nurses, or police. I personally, if I were in that category, I'd certainly be looking at it. That shared equity scheme is pretty cool. It allows people to get in with a very small deposit. I think it's around 2%. Correct me if I'm wrong in there. Now, that small deposit allows you to get into the property, but then essentially the government owns 30 or 40% of your property. And I think you can nominate that amount. And it also depends on whether or not it's brand new or old. Brand new properties, the government can own up to 40%. If it's older, it's 30%. I like this initiative. It means that as a homeowner, you can get into the property. You've effectively got the government as a silent partner. But it means for you, you own the asset, your debt is much lower, and you get your opportunity to own a piece of the Australian dream, own a piece of real estate. The other big thing that has been the tip of everybody's tongue is the stamp duty changes. Now, the stamp duty suggestion is a bit different to what they had originally suggested in, it was 2021 July. They put out a paper and they had a whole bunch of recommendations. There was a bit of a study on how they would roll out the stamp duty. Now, as I understand it, what they've got here is it allows for people, first home buyers purchasing a home, up to $1.5 million to pay an annual property tax, rather than paying the upfront stamp duty cost of 4%. Now, that is significant, I think. What they've proposed as an ongoing fee is a minimum fixed amount of $400 per annum plus 0.3% of the land value. And that's if you're an owner-occupier. And then it is $1,500 per annum, or 1.1% of the land value if you're an investor. If you turn that, you have to be a first home buyer to buy it, but if you turn it into an investment, then it'll switch to that. Again, I think that this is a really good initiative. I like it. It's a little bit different to the original suggestion, where in this instance, it's only for first home buyers. They can buy in and opt to then get that concession. But the nice thing is that the next person that buys it can then choose to either opt in or not if they're a first home buyer. So it's not now locked in this only paying a land tax. You can either choose to pay the full 4% up front, or you can pay that nominal amount as an ongoing fee. I think that this is going to be a big boost for real estate prices, particularly in that price bracket. It's going to certainly put more demand there. Now, at that price bracket, I must say there's a lot of pressure, downward pressure because of interest rates. But having a land tax at a land tax that's based on the unimproved capital value of the land is huge. And why it is huge is because the unimproved capital value of a land is typically much less than what you would pay as market price. So let's just talk about that for a hot second. Market price is if you go to auction and the property sells for $2 million, you're paying stamp duty on that $2 million, 4% on the $2 million. Whereas in this instance, you'd be paying 0.3% as an ongoing fee on the unimproved value of the land. Now that $2 million property, the unimproved value may only be $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, maybe $800,000. So you're paying a lower tax amount at a much lower threshold as well. So land taxes, that new land tax suggestion, I like it. It's a good initiative. I think people will check it out, and I think it's going to prop up prices in that. It's going to at least buoy prices in that part of the market. The other parts of the budget that I found particularly interesting is the tremendous amount of investments in infrastructure. There's a huge amount of investments in infrastructure. Now, I really like that. If you follow us, if you follow Wealthi, our podcasts, our tutorials, the free academy that we do at the Wealthi website, one of the things that we believe props up the value of property is investments in infrastructure. And the reason why is because when the government, when private institutions spend money to improve a location, people typically want to either want to move there or they'll pay more money to live there, and that's in the form of rent. And different types of infrastructure impact prices differently. So, for instance, one big piece of infrastructure that I'm excited about is the fast rail program. So the government's proposing to put up $274 million towards this fast rail program, which is it's there to deliver faster connections between Sydney, Canberra, Bombarderi, Newcastle, Central Coast, and it's trying to make it much, much faster to get between all of these cities. Now, for anyone that owns real estate in these cities, I do believe that the prices in those markets is going to increase. Reason being is quite simply, if you're living in Newcastle now and you can commute to Sydney City in what they're proposing, I think it's about an hour, under an hour, that's significant. That is really significant. And now it takes you just over 2. So being able to get there in under an hour is awesome. Same thing for Canberra. Property prices in Canberra is going to skyrocket. It's going to really, really drive. Now, bear in mind, just because they're saying the fast rail program, they're working on it, they're spending money towards it, I wouldn't expect it to be completed anytime soon. It's going to take a while for them to get it through, get it approved, get it built. It's going to be a long, long time. Have a look at what happened with Badgerys Creek. Perfect example. They've been talking about the second airport for 50 years nearly. And it's when they did say in earnest we're going to do it, it took many, many years for it to actually get approved, get up and running, then start construction. However, when they eventually did start construction, when it did get approved and then they started construction, land values in Badgerys Creek, Luddenham, that whole area, it skyrocketed. Over the space of a couple of years, you saw property prices jump double and triple. Simple farmers went from growing tomatoes to then becoming multi-billionaires. So that's the kind of things that this huge scale, massive infrastructure project can have. Well, that's the impact that it can have. The other opportunities that I see in this budget are for regional markets around New South Wales. I think there's a really good opportunity to be investing in regional markets or buying out in regional markets. The government is putting a lot of money, $2.4 billion over the next 10 years, to allow for different incentives. They want to bring out more healthcare and education. They want to allow for more healthcare expansion and for a healthcare workforce. They really want to incentivize doctors, nurses, these types of services out in the regional centers. And that's going to encourage the population to grow. So if these regional centers are getting a lot of infrastructure, they're getting new hospitals, more healthcare professionals, we're going to see more attention in those markets. But it's not just that. The government are any regional areas in particular? Good question. The regional areas that I like to focus on, if you're going to be using it as an idea, is I like to follow regional areas that have the largest populations. So Newcastle, believe it or not, is technically a regional area. That's a great market to go and invest in. I think that's got a really, really good potential. I think regional areas west, I like places like Orange and Bathurst. There's a lot happening there. There's more than just mining. You've got tourism. You've got they're really robust economies out that way. They actually feed the nation as well. I also like regional areas. I like the Hunter Valley is another great part of the New South Wales regional economy. And the reason why I also like these areas is because part of the infrastructure bill is they're spending $3.2 billion on the Great Western Highway upgrade to reduce congestion through the Blue Mountains to get better connection to the Central West. So I think the Central West is a really good opportunity for investment as well. You've got better transport out that way through the roads getting improved, and then more money being spent on the hospitals and infrastructure out that way. I hope that answered your question. Now, other pieces of infrastructure that they're spending money on. Western Sydney. How can I forget about Western Sydney? Now, for all of you, I know that some of you have been paying attention, but I think Western Sydney people are scared at the moment because there's interest rates, there's a lot of things that are happening, and it's taking their attention away from the fundamentals. And fundamentally, hey Carla, fundamentally, the western suburbs of Sydney have got a lot of room for growth. You've got the airport, you have the Metro West going in, you also got the Metro Western Sydney line as well. So you've got the two metro train stations, that one's southwest and one's properly west. That's a lot of new train stations, a lot of infrastructure. You've also got Parramatta as a CBD, which is getting a huge amount of money. It's its own economy, it's its own powerhouse. But from Parramatta, you've got obviously the Metro West. You've got the new light rail, stage 2 has been approved as well. You've got the university, you've also got the hospital in Westmead. So tremendous opportunities in the western suburbs of Sydney. And they've just recently also... No, it hasn't. Okay. Fair enough. No, it hasn't. Well, just Clackers doesn't think that the western suburbs of Sydney hasn't got much opportunity. Did you make the budget? We're just going to ignore Clackers because he's asking me nonsense at the moment. Anyways, the budgets come from the New South Wales government. They've proposed it, Clackers. So what they've also proposed is they want to spend $8.4 billion. No, excuse me. $5 billion on the West Invest program. And that program is to fund transformational projects. Thank you for lifting your game. Transformational projects to support livability, community amenity in western suburbs of Sydney. So this is that type of projects that make the area better, improving the streetscape, improving the parks, the recreation, new areas for kids to go and play, new schools, upgrades to schools. Now, we all know as parents, having a good public school nearby can impact property prices tremendously. So what the government is actually doing is spending a lot of money on the schooling, but they've also created a new initiative where it's that pre-K. So they're allowing for people to lighten the load on parents so that they can put their kids into a space that's not going to cost them as much money to look after their children. That's another opportunity there. Okay, so we've got a couple of other areas that I do want to talk about in here before I wrap up. Now, bear in mind, if you've got any questions, like clackers, feel free to put them in here and I'll address them, and I'll try not to be so condescending. Apologies, clackers. So here we've got $2.3 billion on the M6 extension. Now, for all of you, the M6 Stage 1 extension, what they want to do is remove about 2,000 trucks daily from the Princess Highway. And what they also want to do is enhance pedestrian cyclist safety through the pathways of the Princess Highway. So I see that as another big opportunity for people in along the Princess Highway, taking a lot of trucks, a lot of that heavy, a lot of those noisy, smelly trucks off that road, putting them onto the M6 is a big opportunity for homeowners and investors down the Princess Highway. I think the area around there is going to be a lot nicer, especially if they're making cycling paths and enhancing the walkability of those suburbs. So I'd be looking around there as well. And then we've got $1.9 billion being spent for Jervis Bay to the Victorian border. So for people that are living in the South Coast, I think that that's a big opportunity. For people that are in the south coast of Sydney, that's a really, really big opportunity for you. The freeways are going to be improved, certainly between Sydney and Jervis Bay, but from Jervis Bay to Victoria. So that's increased tourism. That's more opportunities for job creation. I would be looking in the south coast of New South Wales as well. Okay, I've got some questions. What do I think of Mascot? What do I think of Mascot? I'll cover that in a second. What I'll do is just make sure that I've covered everything in this budget, and then I'll answer that question. I've also got another question here. Please make something for South Australia. Will do. I'll be making one for South Australia, for Perth. I'll cover the states. Our business, Wealthi, invests all around Australia, so it would make a lot of sense for me to cover the major states. So let's see here. Yes. So there's another rail line which is going in, $60 million to develop a final business case for the southern extension of the Metro West, Metro West for the airport, to extend all the way to at Bradfield to Glenfield. So I think that Glenfield, there's an opportunity for just south of Liverpool, Glenfield in particular, if they get their own extension to the metro to the second airport, I think that's another tremendous opportunity. So Liverpool, Casula, Glenfield, that area there, I think that that's a really good market for investment as well. Anyways, I've covered the budget. I've spoken about the key things or the key opportunities that I believe will impact property prices. What I'll do now is address some of your questions. So going back here, we've got, what do I think of Mascot? I think that Mascot is a good market. I think that it is, I think there's some really good opportunities in Mascot. I mean, it's close to the water. You're really close, not far from the eastern suburbs of Sydney. It's not east, certainly not east, but you're not far from the east coast of Sydney. You've got Botany Bay, not far as well. I think you can get some really well-priced houses on big blocks of land there for less than $2 million. And I think that that's a pretty good investment in Mascot. I think that, again, with the M6 changing, that's another opportunity. So it just means it's easier to get in and out of that market. Thanks for that heart. That was really nice of you, Frasers. Okay, what do I think about... So Ed from Sydney. I'm inquiring about age pensions for all without restrictions. In other words, if PE. Ed, I don't really understand your question that well. I'm sorry. I'm not across age pensions and things. Not my area of expertise. There are a lot of financial planners out there that I'm sure could answer that question for you. My specialty is more residential property and investments. Sorry, Ed, I hate not being able to answer questions. Clackers again, mate, you're very active today. House prices around Sydney are extraordinary. Yes, they are. Let me know when we do Melbourne. I certainly will. I hope to be covering most of the markets this week. So stay tuned for that. I may not do lives for all of them. I may just do some 3-minute clips and then you can just watch them on demand. A shooter, if pensioners can work and receive the pension without penalties. Again, I don't know much about that. I'm sorry. Dom, okay. I have a pre-approval of 850K, but don't know where to invest. Where can I get a house? Lol. Well, 850 grand is a really good budget. You can get a house in lots of parts of Australia. If you're saying a house within New South Wales, you're going to have to go regional. Regional markets are best for you. You're not going to really get a house in Sydney for 850K. You might, actually, no, excuse me, tell a lie, you might, but it's going to be a headache. It's going to come with a lot of headaches. It's going to be painful. And what I mean by that is I've bought some cheap houses in the past, and you're typically looking at doing an extensive amount of renovation work. So if you're going to go really cheap, be prepared that it will come at another cost. It's either going to cost you more money to get it up to scratch, or it's going to cost you time and expertise to effectively rebuild it and develop it. But western suburbs of Sydney, you can find pockets around some lower socioeconomic areas where you will find cheaper houses. I think a better investment opportunity is to go and get some stuff in Melbourne. 850K is a very healthy budget, and you can buy some really nice houses. You can do some house and land packs in Melbourne. I think that's a really, really powerful market. Over the next 10 years, a lot of you may or may not know, but the city is going to be bigger than Sydney, and it's really suffered due to COVID. So Melbourne's a really, really good market for that. I hope I've answered your question there, Fraser. If you want more detailed, we can have a personal one-on-one chat. Just reach out to the Wealthi team and we'll do that for you. Should I buy a 2-bedroom condo in Roseberry? It depends. It depends. If it's your own home, buying your own home, I can't comment on that. I don't know what your living situation's like. Again, I can't really give this is no financial advice. I can't give advice because I don't know your personal circumstances. All I can do is talk to you about the market. I can talk to you about generally what's happening out there. But if we learn more about your specific situation, what your goals are, what you can afford, then we can go a lot deeper. There's no more questions. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoyed talking about this all today. I hope you got some value. It was great getting a lot of your questions, heaps of feedback. Fraser's, thanks for all the roses. That's really, really generous of you. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. Next Friday, I'll be doing another live event. If you want me to talk about a specific topic, let me know in the comments. Send it to me in the comments, or I don't know if you can private message in TikTok. I'm still getting used to it all. Anyways, it's Friday. It's nice and sunny here. I hope it's beautiful weather there. Have a great day, lovely weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Happy investing.